So how can you have joy when things are not going the way you want them to? In 2 Corinthians, the Apostle Paul writes this in chapter 6, starting in verse 8. He says, "We serve God whether people honor us or despise us, whether they slander us or praise us. We're honest, but they call us impostors. We're ignored even though we're well known. We live close to death, but we're still alive. We've been beaten, but we've not been killed. Our hearts ache, but we always have joy." Remember, happiness is based on circumstances outside us. Joy is based on what's inside us. We're poor, but we give spiritual riches to others. We own nothing, yet we have everything. My guess is you've been around people who place a great amount of value on things that you know are not important. There are times when we're with people and we're listening to things they've been doing, and they've just been going places and doing things, and there's things that I'd like to go do, but we've never been able to do that. And I can remember sitting there in my head going, man, what a life. I would love to have done all this. And then the next time Rhonda and I were sitting down eating with our girls, God said, you know, they've never done this. Would I trade a trip to Hawaii for a lifetime of dinner with my girls? Not a chance. We didn't realize how much we'd miss it, but now that they don't live with us, we don't get to hear them laughing all through the night when we think they ought to be asleep. And we miss it, but we got to have it. They had to realize this year that if they didn't step up and do something, we were going to have a naked Christmas tree in our house on Christmas. Because I'm not a Christmas tree decorator, and Rhonda was busy. And so Wendy came over and decorated the tree. And I thought, I miss this. We may not own much, but we have everything. He goes on in chapter 8. Now I want you to know, dear brothers and sisters, what God in His kindness has done through the churches in Macedonia. They are being tested by many troubles, and they are very poor. But they are also filled with abundant joy, and abundant means more than you can contain. It overflows. They are filled with abundant joy, which has overflowed in rich generosity. I've often joked about how much I'd love to be the guy that could write $1 million check. That hasn't happened yet. That's still got 5 or 6 too many zeros on it for me. But you know, I can still be generous. I can give when God tells me to give. When I see a need, I can do what I can to help. It never comes down to one person. Oh, we need one person to give us $500,000 so we can replace the roof on this place. Well, if that happens, great. But it's not the job of one person. And joy creates an overflow in generosity. And that's not contingent on what's happening around us. The world that Jesus was born into was not a happy place. It was not a safe place. It was not an abundantly healthy place. How many of you ladies would, just for fun, try and give birth in a barn? With no drugs, without any Jell-O, without an electronic meter to tell you when the next contraction is coming. So your husband can look at it and say, well, that one wasn't that bad. And then they have to pry your hands off of his throat. Wouldn't it have made much more sense for Jesus to have waited until now, when he could be born at a wonderful place like Loma Linda where our kids were born? That's not what happened. He was not born into a great place, but he brought joy. And wherever it is we're living, when we're with God, we can have joy. And in fact, if our lives do not exhibit joy, it's a good sign that there's something lacking in our relationship with God. Because God brings joy. God's gift is a gift of joy, real joy, lasting joy. Not passing happiness based on our situation or circumstance, but joy based on our relationship with Him. And that's quite a Christmas gift.